Okay, we are live and we've got attendees trickling in. So thanks for joining us today for TipJar, everybody. We are so excited to see you. This has been a popular topic, which is great. That means that we're getting better at picking topics. Or maybe it's that we're getting better at picking hosts. We've got Jared Wilbur here with us today.
Hello,
He's going to
hello.
teach us all about reading audit reports. When I first started, that was one of the most daunting things, because I thought, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to know what this says? But then one day it just kind of clicks, don't you think?
It absolutely does.
All right. We have, oh, let's make sure I turn on the chat.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing I always forget.
Yeah, we definitely need to if you have any questions during this, I mean, you've all been to tip jars before. We want to make sure that you're all getting the things you need answered. That's the entire purpose of this, is helping you better use the tool. And if you got questions, put them in there in Q&A. Abby, I might have you call them out if they look like they need to be answered right here
Oh, I
as
will.
I'm
My
as
favorite
I'm
thing,
demoing.
I love interrupting the hosts and
Oh,
keeping them on their toes and making it as hard as possible for them.
perfect.
So, attendees, you should be able to chat now. Someone wouldn't mind testing, that would be awesome. There we go.
Oh, nice and quick there. Quick to the
Thanks,
draw.
everyone. It's hard to know if, when you throw a request out to a group, usually nothing happens. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Paige. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Ying, Kevin. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. Jared, would you like me to share or would you prefer to share?
Hey, you can start sharing. I have the deck, so I'll take over once you're done and I start my segment here.
Okay, so as you know, we like to often start our webinars or our tip jars with just a review of what we talked about last time. Last episode was our most widely attended episode ever, which is very exciting. And today's is our second best attended. So we're setting a lot of really exciting records over here. So if you have requests for topics, let us know. We'll make sure that we keep picking things that are really relevant to you all. But our last episode of TipJar, we talked about how ObservePoint can help you with the deprecation of third-party cookies in Chrome. I'm going to share a lot of links in the chat that you can refer to if you still have questions about this topic. Essentially, the best first place to start is to get an inventory of all your first and third-party cookies. If you are here, I bet you know how to do that, but if you don't, Jared will mention in the walkthrough where you would see those things. Then you can use the our new feature of blocking third-party cookies to see how your site functions when those third-party cookies are blocked. Remember that about 1% of your Chrome users are already viewing your site in that stage. So if something's broken, you're going to want to know about that now. We have a lot of content available that I will share in the chat. And if you have any questions, reach out to us, reach out to your CSM, and we can help you with this topic. ObservePoint actually gets you some really valuable insights with third-party cookie deprecation that are really easy to get. So we hope that we can help you through this change. And I'll hand it over to Jared.
Awesome. Yeah, Abby chose this slide, and we had a conversation about it. What was that? About a week ago, Abby. Abby chose this. I use this analogy all the time, and I thought it was just absolutely awesome that she chose it without me even. I'd never even given her my analogy I always give, so it just seems fitting then. So observe point, the way I kind of look at it, a lot of times can seem like we just handed you a big old jet, right? Or in this case, like this is just like a front prop plane or something like that. But in that case, whatever, it doesn't matter. We handed you this really powerful and obviously great tool. It can get you to point A to point B. It's awesome. But sometimes then we sit you in the cockpit and there is a bunch of dials. There's a bunch of buttons. I don't know if any of you have ever been in the cockpit of a plane. If any of you know Bryce Bergen, really small, tiny tangent. He's one of our account executives here at ObservePoint. He actually got his pilot's license, and I got co-pilot with him. This was about a year ago, more than a year ago at this point. That's scary to say out loud. But a while ago, he sat me down. But I had kind of this reaction. If you just sat someone down inside this seat and said, go, it can seem really daunting. And ObservePoint does that to a lot of our users. And it's something that we are obviously very, we're working on a day-to-day basis here, improving our product, improving our design to help you better. But sometimes it does feel like that is, we can design it in every way, shape, or form, but you sit down, any new tool can feel that way is, what does that dial do? What does this meter do? And today, hopefully, we're going to be addressing that a little bit better to help you all look at the dashboards, look at the things that we have available, and feel a little less daunting. So let's get started on that. Abby, next slide. Or I guess I should just take over. Doesn't matter. So yeah, like I mentioned, the goals of this is to just help you better understand some basic functionality of the reports within ObservePoint. We want you to be using all of the features and functionalities that are here, not just the the use case overviews or whatever you initially land on. This came about. Next slide, Abby. This came about because we noticed some metrics and reporting on our side that some of the most, most of the pages or most of the reports that come through audits are being consumed by most of our users consume just a few reports, and there's a lot of really good stuff if you dive down into some of these. So we're going to go over some of those external reports, those peripheral reports that aren't being utilized, and we'd love to kind of show how to consume those, what roles and what kind of questions to be asking when you're in those, and go from there. So without further ado, I think I'll take over sharing, and we are what did I just click the wrong. You'd think after all these years of using Zoom I'd be better at it. All right, here we go. There we go. All right, so I'm sharing my screen here. So within ObservePoint, I did two different scans. So one of the first ones that I actually wanted to do to show everyone here, I did a campaign audit. Now I threw in a little bit of trash into it to show some examples. So don't feel like, oh, ObservePoint is awful at their campaigns. I did this on purpose to show some examples to highlight some points here. So within this audit, all I did, and I want to reemphasize something, ObservePoint crawls. That's awesome. But sometimes there's pages that our crawler just can't see that we can't get to. And this is a little bit of a tangent from today's topic, but it will be relevant, I promise you. We can't get to everything by just crawling. There are pages that we just cannot get to. So this audit right here, I went and grabbed 50 pages from a handful of our campaigns. This one I think specifically was a bunch of links from our Google Ads. Now I threw in a lot of really old ones in there and ones that I knew were breaking and all that kind of stuff. So for example purposes, because look at that, we have found 11 broken pages. That should be terrifying. So again, I went to Google Ads, I did a quick export, I deduplicated those the landing page URLs that were inside those campaigns, and I threw them into this audit, and I said, go. That's it. That is all the configuration I did. It was a very quick process. If you have a central location where campaigns are being generated or whatever from your teams, this is a really great process that honestly, so few of our customers take advantage of, because ObservePoint crawls, but we can do so much more than that. If you have URLs you want us to test, like campaign URLs, just go to an audit, create it, throw those URLs in, and let's get some good information about those pages for you. like first and foremost, there's 11 broken pages. As I mentioned from that chart, we saw use case overviews and our pages here are our top used reports and top viewed reports. As right, rightfully so. This is, I actually even do this most of the time. When I go into an audit, it's almost the first report that I click on as well. And apparently most of our users do. But it's great. It gives some really high level information. There were 11 broken URLs. Most of you, you probably use this functionality, and this is very basic. This is inside that plane. This is just pulling up and down on the joysticks there. Everyone knows that concept. That's really easy. But the thing that is underutilized within ObservePoint, bar none, is this functionality right here within this report. And this is available in all the reports that we'll go over today. We have pages scanned. I just clicked and filtered for these 11 pages that are broken. You can see it filtered up here. This little icon right there, guys. Create new alert. This is a feature that came out a bit ago. But there is two parts to this that are underutilized. If you're using alerts, good for you. That's awesome. I'm like super, super, super proud of you. That's fantastic. But there's an aspect to alerts that I will show here in a second. I'm going to show you another alert that is underutilized in this use case. And I'll do this one real quick. I'll make this, why not? Why not? We're already in this process. So I want to create an alert on this. In my case that I just did here, my expectations is that 0 URLs should be broken from my campaigns, right? That's my expectation. That should be your expectation. If you have campaigns that are leading to broken pages, that's a massive problem. And that's a first and foremost problem that should not be happening. You are paying for people to go to broken experiences. That's awful. So create that audit and create a quick alert that has 0. I want pages scanned, all pages that are scanned within it to be the operator greater than 0. Yeah, if that happens to be greater than 0 broken pages, then that, we have an issue, right? We can do custom messages within alerts. So when you get that email, you can type out, you can put different people from different organizations. Put this to the individuals who own Google Ads and say, we did a scan and found broken links. We're driving or whatever. We are driving traffic to broken links. Whatever it is, and put Jane Doe over at marketing to inform them about this. And then obviously within, you can choose different data sets or different audits to do this on. And then this little feature here, would this have triggered this last one? Yes, it would have. We had 11 pages on this last audit. This alert would have triggered on March 19th for this. So kind of what if I created this rule way back when, would it have alerted it? Would I have gotten an alert for it? Yes. Awesome. So I created that. Another really cool alert to create that a lot of people don't do in this use case. For those of you who are using this use case, please create this alert right now. Go to your ObservePoint and do this right now. If you are not, create this audit, then create this alert in it. Initial URL, if an initial URL contains a parameter, and then I go over here, I check final and I uncheck initial, put this one here, and final URL does not contain a query parameter. This is basically what I'm saying here is if the initial URL has UTM parameters, you can see them right there. The final URL does not. These campaigns are examples of UTM parameters getting stripped from the final URL. When the user lands on it, there's no more tracking happening on those. We are losing that tracking ability. And then obviously what I just did with the broken pages, we do the same exact thing. Go up here to pages scanned. I click on this. I go broken, stripped URL params or something like that. Whatever I want. Custom alert. I don't want it to be 17 because 0 is my standard. That should never be the case. I go through this whole process again, hit save. I now have 2 alerts on this audit. I can then A little pro tip within ObservePoint. If you reprocess any of these, we reprocess alerts. So if you reprocess rules, comparisons, whatever it is, consent categories, we reprocess the alerts during that same process that we're doing that. The fastest, really insider tip, use consent categories. That one's our fastest reprocessing. It's really easy for our backend to reprocess those. So I generally use consent categories to reprocess. That should only take a few seconds. I'm gonna get egg on my face if it doesn't take just a few seconds. So watch that happen. And then in fact, I just got an alert from that. I think I got a buzz on my wrist. I'm not sure if that's what it came from, but let's refresh. Yep, and there it is. You can see it right there. So this is why I did this entire process here, everyone, is because now this report is so useful. It's an underutilized report. When I go and create alerts, I can now look very quickly at the things that are relevant to me at a glance. Things that are relevant to me at a glance. Use case overview is awesome at a glance. Fantastic. Love it. Great. But it is static. But this is not static. I'm able to, at a glance, say, whoa, I guess I didn't rename this one. This is that broken pages. I should probably have renamed it to broken pages. But this is my broken pages. I have 11 in here. Like that. I can see that. Stripped URLs. I got 17 in here. Like that. I can click on the alerts and I can see very quickly an overview of those alerts. I don't have to wait for the emails. I don't have to sift through my emails. I don't have to go looking in each report and putting on those filters and such. I can go to alerts and look at those filtered reports and see if anything is going outside of my expectations in a snap. Let's go. You can go into this and take a look very quickly. So a very underutilized report here is the alerts, not just using the alerts, but the overview of alerts. So please, I highly encourage you to use them. If you need to understand and have further training on how to create alerts, our CSM team has fantastic resources for that. Tons of resources for that, of what are best practice alerts to create in an account. Create those in these audits, create ones that are relevant to you and your use cases, put them in here, and then come into ObservePoint. And if you get nothing from today, I'm going to show you a bunch of all these other reports. If you get nothing else from today, this is an awesome report to leverage to get a quick insights into what is happening inside that audit. So let's now go dive into the other underutilized reports. And tag inventory is not one. Tag inventory is highly used for those who are interested in, obviously, tags, technologies firing across the site. This is great. This is awesome. This is not underutilized. If you aren't aware of it, filters. I should expect, in ObservePoint, all 50 pages from this campaign. Actually, let's go dive out. I did a full scan, so an ObservePoint wide scan of all of our pages. So I'm going to go back to that same report. You can see that filters are persistent. So I went from that last one to this one, and it kept my tag inventory that I clicked on that last audit. Came in here. Filters are static, so always keep that in mind. If you, some people don't, sometimes I go into audits and I'll have a filter on and I'll see like 895. That's not what I was like. Oh, shoot. I kept on a filter. So keep that in mind. Filters are persistent. But I filtered this and I said, hey, I want all pages that have our consent management our consent manager on the page. We use OneTrust. And look at that. Hey, we have a bunch of pages that have consent management on it, but 20% of our pages do not. That should have little alarm bells run, for us on this. Now, when we go into this, we can see a bunch of our academy and such that are actually expected to not have that. We don't want those loading on a bunch of academy pages, but things like this. We have a data layer missing on one of our API pages. Actually, you can see it's because it's a broken page. Anyways, I'm giving you really quick. This is how I kind of go into audits, use audits. and consume these reports. Let's actually refresh this one. I'm going to go out and come back into it. A pro tip that I love doing, because I think probably I see a few names in there that I recognize. I used to be one of our sales engineers years ago at ObservePoint. One of the things I love to find, and I loved doing it. I love to actually go and do audits and find little bits of, I used to say nuggets of gold, of value right on my demos. And one of the things I always did is scroll right down to the bottom of this. Woo! Not to that far to the bottom. That's way too much to the bottom. Sorry, folks. Scroll to the bottom of this. So looking at all these tags, these are pages with tags. So obviously right here, this is concerning. I have 1% of pages that don't have my data layer. That's easy. That's that cockpit. I can look at it. I see the basics. Going underneath the hood and understanding a little bit more, I scroll to the bottom of this. Why is New Relic only on 1% of our pages here? Is that something to be concerned about? Should we at ObservePoint be aware of that and why that's happening? What about Stripe? Stripe's a payment processor. Why do we only have it on 2% of our pages? What pages have that? Well, that's our Academy. That kind of actually makes sense. I know that we have a deprecated tool right here, Crazy Egg. That's on 11% of our pages. We have an optimization tool here that's on only 11% of our pages. If we've deprecated that, why is it still there? In fact, I can see that it's broken right there. Why is this happening? The next question to always ask in situations like this is who owns it and what's the course of remediation? Do we have a process for remediation? And if we do, how do we follow that? And if we don't, let's create a process of remediation and go forward and go remediate this. Which leads me, actually, I chose Crazy Egg on purpose to go into one of our most underutilized reports. And it happens to be one of the ones on the top. That's tag health. And I chose Crazy Egg for that exact purpose. Is we have 190. So this report right here is all about those network requests and the health of those network requests. We have 199 failing network requests for our for resources across different pages. That can be a major problem. Why do we have technology that's failing? If that tag has a status code that's broken, why on earth is it there? One, if we are expecting it to be there and collecting data, if it's broken, it's not collecting data. It has issues. We need to go and determine what's going on these pages and why they're breaking. Two, in our case, why, if it's breaking, it could be causing, resource issues within the customers that go to these pages. We can see that, it just so happens that Crazy Egg doesn't, it goes below 500 milliseconds most of the time. Excellent. It's probably not causing performance issues. If that wasn't the case, if we had a combination, in fact, we can do a combination of that. Broken tags that are loading really slow. That's really what this filter is saying here. Thankfully, we don't have any. But broken tags that are loading really slow, that's really bad. Not only are you having resources that are broken, which myriad of reasons that's bad, but it's then causing load speed, potential resource consumption that has potential impact on performance of customers going to those pages. That's bad. That's really bad. So I would probably create an alert for this. Go create an alert. I expect 0 pages to have tags that are broken that are taking a really long time to load. That's what this is. I have filtered that. We have 0 pages having that. But that doesn't matter if there's 0 pages. What if tomorrow ObservePoint has a new tag? What if we implement something, we have an add tag that's creating a really heavy loading on a page and broken? Let's create an alert. It takes 2 seconds. Create an alert. I have slow loading tags that have potential impact that are also broken. Or just get rid of that broken filter. We have 4 tags. We have, there's this Google Analytics that's on a handful of pages here that are over 2 seconds to load that, and our little Marketo tag here as well. We can take a look. Let's take a look at this. We have these 4 pages that have an average, took 4 seconds to load that on one of our help pages. That's bad. Why? The question's always why. We can then obviously go into that page and dive into a page details report to go look and dive further into what's going on here and what's going on. But again, this is a highly underutilized report, and particularly the broken status of this. This side of the report is so underutilized. It's insane. So please go in here, check this out. Also, I should also mention this. If you have custom resources that are loading across your site, I've had many, many customers have their own iframes that load, specific images or whatever it is, videos. It could be a slew of different things that are custom to your organization. This is so applicable to you. We would love to add that tag as a custom tag. Fun fact, there are custom tags. Now, I'm not talking about the custom ObservePoint tag. I'm talking about custom tags that we can create signatures just for resources that are just for your organization. We can add them to your account, and then this exact filter. Let's go filter for that specific tag. Let's go look for that tag in your account. Let's call it the ObservePoint tag. Let's say there wasn't a tag for just the ObservePoint resource. We had iframes that load some resource somewhere across our site, and we want to ensure they are never broken. Great. ObservePoint can add that to our tag database. We can create that. Let's say I know that there's an ObservePoint data here. Ooh, why did it not do that? Okay, well, let's say it's the data layer. That's not going to be the case, but let's say it was called data layer in this case. We added that to your accounts tag database, and we have broken here. Let's create an alert for this. This is a resource that is applicable to you and or your teams that have a resource loading on that page that they need to ensure is always up and going. This helps for that. Again, create an alert right there and then for that specific thing, filtering out for that tag. And if it's broken, we are expecting it to always be 0. If we ever see it more than that, this alerts tab will show that. Oh, crap. I put it in. Sorry. I put it on that other audit. Great. Variable inventory. I'm not going to spend almost any time on this. This is a very, very popular report. Needless to say, we can go in and look at all of the different key value pairs that are inside all of our different technologies. Vast majority of our users of this, you analytics folks, this report's for you. I don't have a whole lot of extra stuff on this. We can probably spend an entire TipJar session, probably just on this report alone. I'm not going to dive too far deep into it. Rules. If you create rules, you have this report. This is, again, one of those highly utilized reports. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time into because those of you who leverage and should be leveraging rules, this is a great report for that to get a nice high-level overview. I won't spend a whole lot of time because we have 2 minutes because I really wanted to get to this report here.
We also have a lot of really good questions, Jared.
Oh.
So when you're done with this demo, let's dive into those.
All right, I'm going to spend literally 30 seconds on this because I spent far too much time on everything else. That never happens to me, folks. Duplicates and multiples. The difference between a duplicate tag and a multiple tag. I always like to point out duplicates on our backend is actually, if you look at our API, it's called potential inflation data, potentially inflated data. That is critical because what it's basically saying is it's the exact same technology sending the exact same payload more than once. A multiple just means that that technology is firing multiple times on the page, not necessarily the same payload. That is the difference between these. You analytics folks, this is going to be really pertinent to you, is saying, hey, if I have an analytics tag, I'm searching quickly for that. If I have an analytics tag that has duplication on it, if I have Google Analytics having duplicates, that is bad. I'm having the exact same analytics firing multiple times on a page that could potentially inflate it. Unfortunately, we didn't get to these last two because we are going to do a quick Q&A, so I apologize for that. So let's dive right on into that Q&A. Abby, do you mind fielding those questions?
Yeah, and we'll include a breakdown of those other pages that Jared was hoping to cover in the follow-up email. Let's see, we had a handful. First one I'm going to throw at you is, How would you set that it's expected a certain tag won't fire on particular domains so that it doesn't show as a false issue?
Yeah, great question. It's just simply by and maybe I'm not fully understanding the question, but you should be able to just quite simply have those expectations for those specific tags and then filter by that domain inside of your URL. So if we had observepoint.com, that's going to filter for tags that only fired on observepoint.com. Thank goodness every single one of the pages in this audit had observepoint.com. But if the initial URL was observepoint.com in here, and then I added these things, I wanted observepoint.com that have broken status pages that have slow loading. I can add all these filters and combine them with one another. That's how you would do that.
All right, awesome. If you have any follow-up questions on that, if that didn't answer your question, I'll put our email address in the chat in just a second. How many, how many like seconds are considered slow for a tag to load?
How many seconds? So we bucket them, obviously on that screenshot that I have right there, we bucket them. Your average resource shouldn't be firing more than, I mean, your average resources are below a half a second or 500 milliseconds there. Ones that are above 1 second and 2 seconds there are really, really bad performers. Now, I should always warn that does not, tags and cookies and all that don't load synchronously all the time, meaning that there isn't always going to be a stopgap that directly impacts the performance of the page. But it is still a resource that is loading. It takes your consumers processing time to load those tags. So yes, we bucket them as anything below 500 milliseconds is optimal. That is where most of these resources should live. Anything above 2 seconds is horrific. That is really bad.
All right, I will use the word horrific in our follow-up email specifically.
I see one from Luigi there. That's an easy question right there. Custom tags, we can set them to account level, meaning that you can, if you have specific resources that are for your organization, we can turn them on for your account specifically, and they will not be public.
Cool. And then Kevin Chamberlain was asking earlier, can you drill down onto where we see if we're losing UTMs? I think you showed that briefly, but could we see that just one more time?
Yeah, I will show that one more time. I believe we do have this recorded. So if you go to pages, so again, real quick, the way I set up this audit, oh crud. I'm sorry, folks. Over here, campaign. If you are inside an audit, I just literally went into our Google Ads. I downloaded all of our Google Ads. I would recommend filtering for the ones that are active. I did not do that here to get some some bad examples. But so you can see all of these have those UTM parameters in it. I slapped them in the audit. I said run. It went and ran. You go to pages, search URLs up at the top. If the initial URL, and I'm going to just put a question mark, that means that, or I mean, you can put specific UTM parameters in this. I just put the question mark as in there are query parameters of some kind. We leave that as that. Initial URL contains a query parameter. And then I come back over to the search URL. I uncheck I check the final URL. I uncheck the initial URL and I put a question mark again. And then I come over here and I toggle does not contain. So what I'm saying here is that the initial URL contains question mark. So it has a query parameter, and final URL does not contain it. Stripped query parameters. I started with a query parameter and I ended without a query parameter is what this is. That filtered for that. And you can see what those results look like here. I have UTM parameters on that initial page, and I don't have them on the final page. It stripped it. That page stripped query parameters.
Well, all right, let's do one more. We had a question on, can you suggest how to audit the Marketo form tags?
Yeah. I mean, that's a little bit broad because we can do a lot of different types of auditing. But yeah, it would depend on what we want to audit about the Marketo form tags there. If we wanted to audit that they're not resource hogs, if you will, because I think that was kind of what we were seeing over here on, oh, man, So I'm sorry, folks. I shouldn't have made two audits. That was my fault. Because I keep on having to jump back and forth. But we looked over here and saw, hey, we had four, I think it was on the slow loading. Yes. So if we had some kind of Marketo issue here, is it slow loading or is it causing potentially in resource intensive portions of the site here? That is one form of auditing that tag. If we wanted to see what it was collecting in terms of the data, being collected in that would be inside the variable inventory report. So maybe what I can offer here, whoever asked that question, I'm not looking at the Q&A or the chats here, but if you ask that question, if that doesn't answer it, it's a kind of a little broad there. I am willing and more than happy to, yeah, go ahead and email us. Email me if you'd like. I don't know if we put my email inside these, did we?
I'll send it to everyone.
Yeah, send it to everyone. I'm more than happy to. I'm more than happy to send me a direct email. Or if you're not in our community Slack, go ahead and join our community Slack and Slack me directly. I'm more than happy to answer questions there as well.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay. Last thing, we just wanted to let you guys know that we did create a little infographic for you. We'll send this in the follow-up email as well if you're not able to get it from the chat. But we've got an infographic that just shows you a quick cheat sheet of what you can learn from each of the pages in the audit report. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Jared, you can reach out to the support team, and we are all here to help you. And I wanted to let you all know that our next TipJar episode is going to be about how to handle authentication in ObservePoint audits and journeys. You can register for that right now. I just dropped the link in the chat. If you can't copy it, observepoint.com/tipjar is where you can register. Jared will be back, and then we'll also have Clint Eager, who has been with ObservePoint for a very long time. He knows everything there is to know about ObservePoint. So you'll have a really great team here for you. Bring your questions, and we hope to see you there.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Yeah, and then Kanav, I just saw your question. I will get information on that and include it in the follow-up email. Hopefully I said your name right. I probably didn't. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
we
everyone.
appreciate
Take
you
care.
joining. Thank you for your participation too. That's great. Have a
Take
good
care.
one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.